You've been chasing results your whole life. The perfect body, the big income, the dream life. But here's the truth. Results don't last when your identity stays the same. This is the message at the core of Atomic Habits by James Clear. The secret is not to focus on what you want to achieve, but on who you are becoming. Your habits don't just build success, they build identity. If you want to stop quitting halfway, stop relying on motivation, and finally transform your life from the inside out, then this summary is for you. Because lasting change doesn't start with goals. It starts with identity. Stop chasing results. That's the trap most people fall into. They want the trophy, not the training. They want the applause, not the process. But here's the truth. Winners and losers often have the same goals. The difference isn't the target, it's the system. You can set all the goals in the world, but if you don't build the habits to back them, you're just daydreaming. Goals are about direction. Systems are about progress. You don't rise to your goals. You fall to the strength of your habits. Most people chase outcomes because they're chasing a feeling. They think reaching a milestone will finally make them feel enough. But that's the illusion. Results are temporary. The process is permanent. If your happiness depends on the outcome, you'll never be free. Build a system that runs even when your emotions don't. You have a choice. Chase the feeling of achievement or become the kind of person who achieves naturally. That's the key. Stop looking at results as the proof of success. They're just reflections of what you've already done in private. The results you're craving are the shadow of your identity. You don't need to become someone else. You need to prove to yourself who you already are, through repetition, not motivation. Become the kind of person who doesn't chase, but attracts through discipline. Focus on being, not having. Because once your actions align with your identity, the results will have no choice but to follow. You've stopped chasing results. Now, it's time to understand what truly defines you. Start building identity. This is where transformation begins. Because change doesn't happen when you set a goal. It happens when you decide who you are. Every action you take is a vote for the kind of person you believe yourself to be. If you want lasting change, stop saying, "I want to do this," and start saying, "I am this." That's the difference between effort and embodiment. You don't become disciplined by forcing it. You become disciplined by identifying as someone who never skips what matters. Most people try to change behavior without changing identity. They say they want to quit smoking, but still see themselves as a smoker. They say they want to be consistent, but deep down, they still believe they're lazy. You can't build a new life with the same self-image. Every time you follow through, you're casting a new vote. You're reinforcing a new story, a story of control, power, and self-respect. You have a choice. Keep living as the person you were, or start becoming the person you were meant to be. Your habits are mirrors. They reflect your current identity back at you. If you don't like the reflection, change the habits. That's the key. Stop waiting for motivation to show up. You don't need their approval. You don't need permission. You just need to act in alignment with who you say you are. Identity comes before results. Action comes before confidence. You are what you repeatedly do. You've started building identity. Now it's time to reinforce it through something more powerful than willpower. The power of systems over goals. This is where most people get it wrong. They worship goals, but ignore the process. Goals are about where you want to go. Systems are about how you get there every single day. Anyone can write down a dream, but few can repeat the small, boring actions that turn that dream into reality. Systems are the quiet engines of success. They don't make noise, but they never stop moving. That's the key. A system is built on consistency, not intensity. You don't need massive effort once. You need small effort daily. Think about it. A goal is a moment in time, but a system is a lifestyle. When you're obsessed with the goal, you feel like a failure until you hit it. But when you focus on the system, you win every day you show up. That's mental toughness, the ability to keep acting when results are invisible. You have a choice. Chase the finish line or fall in love with the process. Winners don't think about outcomes. They think about routines. Their strength comes from structure. They don't ask, "Did I win today?" They ask, "Did I execute my system?" Because that's all that matters. The result is inevitable when the process is non-negotiable. Discipline isn't glamorous, it's quiet repetition. But quiet repetition builds identity, and identity creates results. You've learned the power of systems over goals. Now it's time to face the hardest truth of progress, the pain of patience, the plateau of hidden growth. This is the stage that breaks most people. It's the silence before success, the grind before the reward. You're doing the work, but nothing seems to change. You're putting in the effort, but the results don't show. And that's where weak minds quit. They think progress should be visible, fast, and loud. But real growth is invisible first. It happens underneath the surface, in the places no one sees. That's the key. Every habit, every repetition, every quiet effort compounds. Like an ice cube sitting on a table, nothing seems to happen until it hits the melting point. 1 degree of change, and everything transforms. That's how success works. You don't control when it happens. You control how long you can stay consistent before it does. You have a choice. Break during the silence, or trust the unseen process. Because the plateau isn't punishment, it's preparation. The truth is, most people never reach the breakthrough because they abandon the system right before it compounds. You don't need to work harder, you need to stay longer. You don't need new goals, you need patience. The results are catching up, they just haven't appeared yet. The plateau is where your identity is tested. Keep going. Keep showing up. You're not stuck, you're solidifying. You've endured the plateau of hidden growth. Now, let's talk about what gives power to that patience. The discipline of consistency. The silent power of repetition. This is where transformation becomes permanent. Anyone can start. Few can repeat. Repetition is the great separator, the bridge between potential and mastery. Every time you show up, even when you don't feel like it, you're proving who's in control, you or your emotions. You don't need to be motivated, you need to be consistent. That's the key. Repetition builds identity faster than inspiration ever will. The more you act like the person you want to become, the faster you become that person. Each small action stacks upon the last, silently building a foundation that can't be shaken. You don't see progress every day, but progress sees you. It's watching, compounding, waiting for the moment it finally reveals itself. You have a choice. Keep showing up quietly or start over loudly. But remember, noise fades, habits remain. Consistency doesn't demand perfection, it demands presence. You will fail, you will miss days, but that doesn't erase your identity, it tests it. A disciplined person doesn't aim to never fail, they aim to never quit. Because consistency isn't built in the perfect days, it's built in the hard ones. Every repetition reinforces the story. This is who I am. And when your habits speak louder than your excuses, you win without needing to say a word. You've learned the silent power of repetition. Now, it's time to understand the foundation that holds all consistency together. The system of self-control. This is where the game changes. Most people think self-control means forcing yourself to resist temptation. But true self-control is not about resistance, it's about design. It's about creating an environment where discipline becomes natural and chaos can't thrive. You don't rise to the level of your willpower. You fall to the structure you've built around it. That's the key. The disciplined don't rely on motivation, they rely on systems that make the right choice the easy one. They remove friction from what's good for them and add friction to what's not. You don't need to fight distractions if you've already eliminated their access point. Every decision you automate frees energy for what truly matters. You have a choice: live by reaction or by intention. When you build a system that protects your focus, you no longer waste energy battling impulses. Self-control grows in clarity. Know who you are, know what you want, and structure your world to reflect it. If your environment doesn't serve your goals, it's working against them. The strongest minds aren't those who say no the loudest. They're the ones who don't need to, because their habits speak for them. Their identity enforces discipline. Their systems make success inevitable. You've built your system of self-control. Now it's time to turn that control inward, to master the one voice that can destroy your progress or fuel it. The inner war, winning the battle in your mind. This is where everything starts and ends. The fight isn't out there, it's in you. Every day, your mind whispers two voices, one that seeks comfort and one that demands growth. The weak obey the first. The disciplined serve the second. That's the key. Your mind is a battlefield of stories. One story says you can't, that it's too hard, too slow, too much. The other says, keep going. This pain means progress. The voice you feed becomes your reality. You have a choice. Believe your doubts or doubt your doubts. When you control your internal dialogue, You control your destiny. You don't need to silence fear. You need to out-talk it with truth. I've done harder things. I can do this too. Mental toughness isn't about never breaking. It's about never staying broken. You'll fall, but you'll rise faster because your identity doesn't live in failure. It lives in persistence. You must become your own commander. Give yourself orders. Follow through without negotiation. The world bends to those who master their inner dialogue. The external world always mirrors the internal one. You've begun to win the inner war. Now it's time to solidify that power through stillness, through control, through calm and chaos. The discipline of silence. This is where power matures. In a loud world, silence is a weapon. Most people can't sit alone without distraction. Their thoughts scare them. Their stillness exposes them. But silence isn't emptiness. It's strength. It's the moment where clarity replaces noise and control replaces chaos. That's the key. When you learn to be silent, you stop reacting. You stop explaining yourself. You stop chasing validation. Because silence is proof of inner authority. You don't need to announce who you are. Your actions do it for you. The disciplined mind doesn't rush to respond. It listens, observes, and acts only when necessary. Every second of restraint builds emotional control, and emotional control builds dominance over the self. You have a choice. Speak to prove something, or stay silent and prove everything. Stillness is not weakness. It's strategy. It's the pause that lets you see what others miss. When you're quiet, you gain awareness of your habits, your triggers, your thoughts. You can't master what you don't notice, and silence makes noticing possible. The world belongs to the person who can wait, observe, and act with precision. Because patience isn't passive, it's power disguised as calm. You've learned the discipline of silence. Now, let's take that inner control and use it to reshape your outer world. The environment of excellence. This is where your identity takes shape in the real world. You can't build a strong mind in a weak environment. Everything around you, the people, the spaces, the habits, is either pulling you forward or holding you down. Discipline doesn't thrive in chaos. It thrives in design. That's the key. Excellence is not an accident. It's engineered. You can't expect to grow if you're surrounded by comfort. You can't expect to stay focused if you're surrounded by noise. Your environment should reflect your standards, not your excuses. Clean your space. Simplify your world. Remove distractions that drain your energy. You have a choice. Live by design or by default. The environment you tolerate defines the results you get. The people around you matter, too. If you walk with the lazy, you'll learn their pace. If you walk with the disciplined, you'll inherit their standards. Protect your proximity like your life depends on it, because it does. The right environment doesn't just support your identity, it reinforces it. Every object, every sound, every person should align with who you want to become. You've built your environment of excellence. Now it's time to take everything you've learned, identity, patience, silence, systems, and forge it into something unshakable. Becoming the person who no longer needs motivation. This is the summit. This is what all the discipline, silence, and identity have been leading to. Because motivation fades, inspiration dies, but identity endures. The person who no longer depends on motivation has mastered the game. They don't wait to feel ready. They act because that's who they are. That's the key. You don't need hype when you have standards. You don't need external push when your system pulls you forward. The strongest people are not the most passionate. They're the most consistent. They show up when it's hard, when it's boring, when no one's watching. Because the act itself defines them. You have a choice. Live like a slave to emotion or as a servant to purpose. Once you stop needing to feel good to do good, you become unstoppable. Motivation is a spark. Identity is a flame. You've built systems that sustain your progress. You've built silence that protects your peace. You've built patience that outlasts the noise. This is what mastery feels like. Calm, steady, and relentless. You're not chasing transformation anymore. You are the transformation. You no longer need to seek proof. Your actions are the proof. You've become the person who no longer needs motivation. But the journey doesn't end here. It deepens. Because mastery isn't the final stage. It's a cycle of becoming. And every cycle begins with one choice. To act in alignment with who you truly are. So stop chasing results. Stop chasing motivation. Build systems that define you. Be 1% better every single day. Stay patient through the plateau, because your identity is being shaped in silence. Every repetition is proof. Every small win is evidence. You are not your goals, you are your habits. Your results are only a mirror of the standards you live by. The message of Atomic Habits is simple but life-changing. Focus on who you are becoming, not what you're achieving. Change your identity, and your results will never be the same again. So here's your challenge. From today, ask yourself before every action, what would the person I want to become do right now? Then do it, quietly, consistently, until it becomes who you are.